Hey traders, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining me. If you guys are brand new, I am a former struggling Forex trader turned consistently profitable trader. I am also now a trading coach and the co-founder of Tier1Trading.com, which, in my opinion, is the best educational trading platform out there. So if you're looking to learn, head over to the website and check it out. Now, if you've been following my podcast for a while, you know that I like to touch on a handful of different topics. Yes, it's called the Trading Coach Podcast or the Trading Coach Podcast, right? Sounds a little bit more fancy that way. But I'm also a believer that really the lessons learned in trading affect your life. The lessons learned in your life affect your trading. And in my experience of growing as a trader and also growing as a person, I've seen this firsthand. So what I like to do a lot in this podcast is not just talk about trading related tips, but also give you tips on life, mindset, self-development, how to become successful. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you a very special guest podcast from a really good buddy of mine named Bob Vasile. If you've been a frequent follower of the Trading Coach Podcast or just me on the internet or in the live rooms, you know that I constantly bring up something called the Deliberate Success Program. And this is something that Bob spearheads over at the university I work for, where we come in, we talk to college-age students, and we essentially work on developing the skills that will make them successful, literally changing the neural pathways in their brain from thinking I can't to I can. And what's funny about success is success doesn't happen by accident. If you look back through all of the super successful people in history, there are deliberate steps that all of them have taken to become successful. And one of the things that Bob preaches on a lot is that it was a light bulb moment for him when he found out that, hey, there's no secret to success. It's just this, and my ability to do it. And Bob's podcast today is going to talk about 7 steps to increasing self-confidence. And those 7 steps are pretty cool. It's do something outside of your comfort zone, combat negative self-talk, surround yourself with people that will build you up, not tear you down, learn how to visualize, right? Practice good posture, right? Create small permanent changes. And finally, the most important one, conversion by immersion. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy it, and you can certainly relate this to not only your trading, but your life. Now, before we get started, this is Bob's first podcast, so he's a little bit shy doing it. You guys don't know him, but Bob is one of the most fiery SOBs I know. So he's kind of get rowdy, get in your face, yell at you, not like overbearing, but he's an energy type of guy. And in this podcast, because he wanted to get the message across, and we're all a little bit nervous on our first one, it's really kind of laid back. But trust me, if you go on to hear more from Bob, you're gonna, as he gets more comfortable doing the podcast, you're gonna hear his true spirit. But the content is amazing. If you're looking for more, make sure to follow Bob Vasile over at Twitter at Bob Vasile. That's BOBVASILE. He sends out a motivational quote each and every morning. And is definitely someone that you want to follow if you're looking to really work on your self-development, if you're working on a successful mindset, and if you just want an inspirational and motivational figure in your life. So enough of me blabbing. Check out the podcast, 7 steps to increasing your self-confidence. And do me a favor, let me know what you think in the comment section on YouTube. Shoot me a message on social media. Tag Bob in it as well. Let him know what you thought about the topic, because I'd love for this to become, instead of just a private podcast, a public one as well. But we gotta kind of poke him to make sure he knows that this content is amazing. So check it out, give me some feedback, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Thanks for listening to the first podcast of the Deliberate Success Program. This session is about self-confidence. Self-confidence is the initial trait needed in the 6 pillars of deliberate success. Those pillars are self-confidence, self-esteem, self-development, goal setting, risk-taking, and leadership. Self-confidence is defined as the feeling of trust in one's abilities, qualities, and judgment. Many people lack self-confidence. They don't believe in themselves, so they doubt their own abilities. You first have to identify why you lack self-confidence in certain situations. And you have to kind of break that down. This will help you get to the core reason of your lack of self-confidence, which will help you identify why you have that lack of self-confidence. So let me give you an example. Let's just say you have a fear of public speaking, and you say, well, I don't like to speak in front of people because I just lack confidence. Well, that's not really a reason. So why do you have a fear of public speaking? You can say, well, I'm afraid I'll make a mistake. Okay, so if you make a mistake, what happens then? Well, then I'll look like an idiot. You'll look like an idiot. So what does that mean exactly? Well, people are going to think I'm dumb or that I'm just a sham and I'm not really who I want to put myself out there to be. And I feel like this because I don't have belief in myself. So now you're breaking it down as to why you have a certain fear of doing something. So you really don't have a fear of public speaking. You have a fear of people thinking that you are not who you think you are, or that you're dumb, or that you're a sham. That's the actual reason why you have a fear. And once you break that down to the core, then you can start taking steps to rectify that situation. So, how can a lack of self-confidence be overcome? What do you need to do specifically to build your self-confidence? Well, here are 7 steps you can take to build your self-confidence. Step number 1, do something outside of your comfort zone. Self-confidence is built by doing. Let me repeat that because this is a very important point. Self-confidence is built by doing. You can read books, you can listen to podcasts, you can watch videos. It won't help until you do something. Why? Action precedes change. That's right. Action comes before change. So think about this. Change only takes place after there is action. So you might say to yourself, what if I take action on something and I fail? Well, you're actually still growing and building self-confidence even if you fail. It shows that you're venturing outside of your comfort zone. And here's the big thing. Your mind gives you credit for your attempt. Doesn't matter whether you succeed or fail, your mind gives you credit for the attempt. That's why doing things outside of your comfort zone is so important. Doesn't matter whether you succeed or fail, just doing things outside of your comfort zone will actually help build your self-confidence. Number 2, combat negative self-talk. This is an unfortunate fact, but it is proven that women are wired at birth to feel more negatively about themselves than men. It's just a fact. So be aware of the negative inner voice that you might have when it says something to you. And know that it is not you. It's just an inner voice. So when you hear this inner voice say things that are going to erode your self-confidence, be aware of it. Know it's not you. And you can actually talk back to it. Tell yourself positive things about yourself to combat the negative inner voice. Some people actually give their inner voice a name so that they know it's not them. So for example, let's call your negative inner voice Henrietta. So when you hear a negative inner voice come up inside of you, it's like, oh, here comes Henrietta again. You've given it a separate entity, unto yourself, so you know that it is something outside of yourself. So once you start working on building your self-confidence and working on deliberate success, when Henrietta starts speaking to you again, you can just say to yourself, you know, Henrietta, I'm getting tired of you tearing me down. And as you keep working on this, after a while, it's going to be like, Henrietta, just shut up, because I know what you're saying isn't true. And then eventually it's going to be, Henrietta, goodbye. I'm done with you. Don't come back. And you've conquered that negative inner voice. Think of it this way. If you had a friend that talked to you like Henrietta does, would you keep hanging around that person? Probably not. So why do you allow you to have those inner voices hang around in your head? So it kind of brings us to our next point. Hang around those that build you up, not tear you down. This is point number 3, and it's a really important point. So let me repeat that. Hang around those that build you up, not tear you down. If people are constantly tearing you down, they're not really your friends. No one needs a real-life Henrietta. Love yourself enough to never lower your standards for anyone. Refuse to lower your standards to accommodate those who refuse to raise theirs. Ridding your life of toxic people is an important step towards deliberate success. You know, some say that you're an amalgamation of the 5 people that you hang around with most. If that's the case, choose your friends wisely, because they're going to have a very big influence on you. Step number 4 is visualization. Visualization is a powerful tool. Picture yourself in a situation before you're actually in it. Really key in on all that you'll experience in that situation. And then picture yourself being confident handling that situation. When the time comes for that actual situation, it won't be as intimidating because, quote, you've done it before. Remember earlier we said that action precedes change. Well, visualization is kind of like a passive form of action. So it helps build your confidence. So visualization is an important step in helping you build your self-confidence. Step number 5 is something you may not have thought of. It's your posture. Wait, what? How can posture affect your self-confidence? Studies have actually shown that having good posture boosts your self-confidence. I mean, think about this. If you think about somebody that is sitting in a chair and they're slouched, and their shoulders are rounded and their head is down, does that portray self-confidence? Think about somebody that's standing upright, back straight, shoulders square, looking you in the eyes. That person will probably portray more self-confidence. And so it goes with your own posture. By deliberately power posing or creating good, powerful posture, your mind will start to think that you have confidence. This is a proven fact. It's like the saying, fake it till you make it. So if you lack self-confidence now, think about what your posture is like. And in certain situations, power pose, create that good, powerful posture. Not only will it have an effect on how people view you, but your mind will actually start to think you have confidence. I'm not going to dwell too much on this topic because there is a great TED Talk on this subject by someone named Amy Cuddy. That's C-U-D-D-Y, Amy Cuddy. The video of this TED Talk is on the Cy Fritz Foundation website on the Deliberate Success Program page under the Self-Confidence heading. There's a couple of other TED Talks that I have for you as a resource on that page. So in addition to this TED Talk by Amy Cuddy, I encourage you to look at the other videos that are on there because they will all help in the topic of self-confidence. Step number 6, small permanent changes. One of the keys to deliberate success in general is making small permanent changes. Key on the word small. You want to make changes that are so small and easy, you can do them every day. It's just so easy, you don't even have to think about it. It's no big deal. Even if you've had a hard day, you can still do these small changes because they're so easy. In terms of small permanent changes, key on the word permanent. You want to make the changes that you'll stick with indefinitely. Repetition is the key. You need to step outside your comfort zone, make small permanent changes. You need to combat negative self-talk, make small permanent changes. You need to start hanging around people that won't tear you down, make small permanent changes. Studies show that making small permanent changes are more effective than big changes. They're easier to make, and you're more likely to stick with them. Remember, repetition is the key. That's what will build new neural pathways that will detour negative thoughts and actions. Speaking of repetition, that brings us to step number 7 in building self-confidence, and that is conversion by immersion. What's conversion by immersion? You need to immerse yourself in what it takes to convert yourself to the person you want to become. Basically, you want to inundate your brain with the positive messages about building, in this case, your self-confidence. This is where reading articles and books, listening to podcasts, watching videos, and other things come into play. So personally, I use an app called Flipboard, F-L-I-P board, Flipboard. And this app culls articles on whatever topic I select. So instead of having to go online and search for articles, I just go to Flipboard. I can type in self-confidence, and it will cull dozens, if not hundreds, of articles on the topic. It's pretty neat. The flipping action of the app of the articles actually makes the site quite addictive. I can go on there to read an article or two and find myself on it for an hour because I just want to flip to the next article. Another resource for you is reading, and the Leadership Library, which is in Coach Andy's office, is another good resource for you. There's a list of books on the Deliberate Success Program page on the Cy Fritz Foundation website if you have interest in that. It's just like a library. You can check the books out, check them back in, and there's no cost to you on that. So in terms of conversion by immersion, the deeper the immersion, the faster and more permanent the conversion. So let me give you an example. And this is true example. During one of my immersion phases, my coworker and I, we each wanted to get to the next level in our lives. And we kind of came to this conclusion at the same time. And we were talking about what we can do, and I was explaining the conversion by immersion to him. So after a few weeks went by, we kind of traded notes to see how our progress was, and my coworker was disappointed that he wasn't seeing the results that he expected. So I asked him, I said, so what are you doing to immerse yourself? He goes, well, I'm reading. He goes, I really never read articles and books before, so I started to read. I thought, that's great. So how many articles a day do you read? And he said, well, I read an article every single day. One article every single day. Well, I was immersing myself in a pretty deep way. In addition to reading books, listening to podcasts, and watching videos, I was reading 200 to 300 articles a day. Now, I know this isn't normal, but I was going through a phase where I really needed to convert myself, so I was immersing myself quite a bit. But think about this. I read the same amount of articles in 2 days that my coworker would have read in a year. So who do you think was going to make the conversion quicker? So immersion is relative. My coworker thought he was immersing himself quite a bit. He had never read before. He was reading an article a day. To him, that was, that was fantastic. So you have to remember how relative your immersion is going to be. I mean, keep in mind, it has taken you years for you to lose your self-confidence, if you've ever had self-confidence at all. You're not going to gain it back overnight. And give yourself a break. Give yourself time. Know that somewhere down the road, your confidence will return. And it may be for the first time in your life. But the key is that you must stick with it. Remember, you want to make small, permanent changes. So how do you keep track of all of this? Well, one of the things that I highly recommend is journaling each and every day. Some call it a journal, some call it a diary. But journaling allows you to get your thoughts down on paper, or if you so choose, a computer. And over time, you can see how you've progressed, especially year over year. It's interesting to make a journal entry and see what your journal entry was 1 year ago that day. You can see how much progress you've made. So I'm big on journaling. I've written in my journal every day since I was 13 years old. That's 45 years of journaling every single day. So I have over 16,000 journal entries. And journaling does build self-confidence, again, especially after you read how far you've come. I do highly recommend it. So for others, they keep something called a confidence jar. So what they do is they write down a note and they put it in the jar whenever something happens to them that builds their self-confidence. It could be something that they did, something that somebody said to them, something just made them feel real good. And they'll put it in the jar. And then they can go back and read those notes on particularly rough days. So if you just need to boost yourself to say, hey, I'm really better than I'm thinking I am right now, and you can just go back and kind of relive those moments. Some actually do this on New Year's Eve. They just open the jar and they start reading the notes from the previous year to see how far they've come. So something like this to just track what you're doing so that you can keep yourself on a track for building your self-confidence. So let's recap. Self-confidence is a feeling of trust in one's abilities, qualities, and judgments. And you need to identify exactly why you lack self-confidence. You want to break it down to get to that core reason. There are 7 steps to increasing self-confidence. Step number 1, do something outside of your comfort zone. Remember, self-confidence is built by doing. Action precedes change. Step number 2, combat negative self-talk. Be aware of the negative inner voice when it says something to you. Know that it is not you, but simply just an inner voice. When you hear this inner voice, be aware of it, know it's not you, and talk back to it. Tell yourself positive things about yourself to combat that negative inner voice. Step number 3, hang around those that build you up, not tear you down. If people are constantly tearing you down, they're not really your friends. Love yourself enough to never lower your standards for anyone. Refuse to lower your standards to accommodate those who refuse to raise theirs. Step number 4, visualization. Picture yourself in a situation before you're actually in it. Picture yourself being confident handling that situation. Step number 5, posture. Studies have shown that having good posture boosts self-confidence. By deliberately power posing or creating good, powerful posture, your mind will start to think you have confidence. Number 6, small permanent changes. It's one of the keys to deliberate success in general. Make changes so small that they're easy to do, but be sure to make those changes permanent. Remember, repetition is the key. Step number 7, conversion by immersion. Immerse yourself in what it takes to convert yourself to the person you want to become. You want to inundate your brain with the positive messages about building your self-confidence. This is where reading articles, listening to podcasts, and watching videos and other things come into play. The deeper the immersion, the faster and more permanent the conversion. Self-confidence is the foundation upon which other pillars of deliberate success are built. If you truly want deliberate success, if you truly want to change your life, you must execute these steps and commit to building self-confidence. If you have any questions or you want further information, please reach out to me. I truly care about your success. I really do. Thanks for listening to the self-confidence episode of the Deliberate Success Program.
So I hope you guys found some value out of Bob's words. I know I did. And if you did as well, please let me know. The Trading Coach Podcast is something that I developed for you guys. Yes, it's a chance for me to reflect and really document my journey and kind of, unwind each and every day. But it's also a chance to take the questions, take the concerns that traders from around the world have on a daily basis and put it in a format that I can reach a much larger field, and I think that's great. But something that I do is I try to probe in different areas, different trading-related areas, different life-related areas, self-development type of areas, and see what you guys like. And if you want more of this deliberate success, I know I love it, but if you guys don't, I know it's not worth sharing. I'll just keep it to myself. If you want more of it, let me know. Shoot me a comment underneath this YouTube video. You can shoot me a message on social. You guys know I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Just say, hey, Akil, I found value out of it. Yes, I'd like to hear some of the upcoming episodes as well. And I can definitely make this a regular occurrence, similar to the accountability sessions that I share, which you guys eat up. Also, while I'm here, I should shamelessly promote myself. If you haven't done so already, make sure you leave me a rating and a review on whatever podcasting app or service you're listening to this on, especially if you're on Apple or iTunes. That is the most powerful one because many of you guys have Apple phones and whatnot. I'm an Android guy, personally. But please do that. It's a massive help in me growing the show. And something else you can do as well is just sharing this, shooting this on social media, saying, hey, I listened to this podcast. This guy is awesome. Perhaps sharing something you learned as well. Again, feedback is everything. So if you can do that, I will keep consistently pumping out these podcasts 3 days a week, each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and providing you with a massive amount of value for free. All right? And until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.